Hey Rebels, my name is Matthew Barton. Welcome to the Rebellion Brewing podcast. There's something unique to craft beer culture you won't find in other businesses. Brewers wear their hearts on their sleeves. If you've got questions about yeast, you've got questions about hops, they're probably going to tell you, or they're going to point you in the right direction. In the pandemic, we saw Regina and Saskatoon breweries sharing canning supplies, packaging supplies. They were just trying to help each other survive this crappy situation where we couldn't get supplies because the borders had closed. Collaboration is key in craft beer. Today, I'm sitting down with Patrick Schnarr, co-owner and head brewer at Outcast Brewing, located in Alberta. We're going to be talking all about our upcoming collaboration with Rebellion and Outcast Brewing. So let's get into it. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. No one else would.
How's your day going?
Good, man. Good. Yeah, I just got my kids to sleep, sort of, and came to the brewery to do some maintenance. I broke our malt mill, so I'm trying to figure out how to get get it working again, and then I'm going to go home and sleep because I'm exhausted from today. See, it turns out being a business owner and homeschooling two kids in virtual learning takes a lot of effort. So especially when one's in kindergarten and doesn't understand how to sit still. So it's been good, man.
My youngest is in kindergarten, and homeschooling him is one of the hardest things I've ever done. Like, parenting is harder than work, I think.
I think it is, and I think the thing with the whole virtual learning too is you don't realize how much you rely on the childcare that school provides, aside from the learning, which is obviously important. But like, we get most of our stuff done in the day. We drop our two boys off at school, and we get all of our errands done in the morning. You know, a lot of mornings we go for a hike with our daughter who's 3 and our dogs. We haven't been able to do that the last 2 weeks, and like, you don't realize how important the role of an educator is, and not as just an educator, but as childcare and a lot of other things, right? And our kids miss their friends and whatever. It's a crazy time, but I hope it's got to be almost done.
I think we're nearing the home stretch. I just got my first dose of the vaccine. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll get my second one, and that feels good.
Yeah, I could tell you did. Your reception was really good. So
got that 5G.
You got that 5G. Yeah, I've got 5G right now too. I got mine 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
So it was good. Actually, it was really funny. I qualified because I booked my appointment about 6 weeks ago, and I qualified because of how fat I was, which is really sad. And then I gone on a tirade of just not drinking and eating healthy and exercising, and I've lost like 42 pounds in the last 7 weeks. So
what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I like to tell myself I carry my weight well. I was like almost 295. If you were to guess, I looked like 240, and now I'm almost 240. So it's great. I'm feeling awesome. And you know what? Being fat got me my first shot. So,
you're the second guy in craft beer in Alberta to tell me he was excited to be fat for the first time because he got a shot quicker.
Who was the first one? Just curious.
Watershed Brewing.
Oh, Kurt Pearson, one of my good friends. Actually, it's really funny. I want to show you something. I don't know. Are you doing video for this, or is it just audio?
Just audio.
That's fine. I'm going to show you something though. Talk about how Kurt's like one of my really good friends. Our sticker wall, which is getting moved, has the largest sticker as a Watershed sticker.
Nice.
Yeah, we're tearing the wall down to open up the cooler to be an open concept, like where you just like open, like put a glass sliding door in.
Yeah.
So I'm moving all the stickers I can, but I can't get that one off. He asked me, he was like, yeah, so I got a sticker for your wall. I'm coming down. How big can I be? I was like, thinking to myself, like, how big could it possibly be a die cut sticker? Yeah, 18 by 18. Like, oh well. He's the coolest dude ever, man. If you've ever met him in person, he is the caringest, happiest person who pushes craft beer so much.
We talk a lot of smack on Twitter, and he's coming on the podcast probably in a few weeks. We had to reschedule due to COVID restrictions.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. He's a cool dude. He's a big fan of your beer too. Like, I know he's good friends with Mark, and I think has been for a very long time.
Yeah, it was Mark who turned me on to Watershed. He's like, "Hey, check this guy out. Pay some attention to what he's got to say."
Yeah, he's Kurt.
So tell me the origin story, the heroic origin story of Outcast.
Yeah, it's funny. This should never have happened. I was a sales rep for Pepsi and got laid off in 2012 or 2013. In Calgary, Coke and Pepsi fight for market share, and when one starts to dominate, I got laid off. I was the lowest. I was the newest salesperson. I'd only been there for a year. I was the one of the 11. The 11th person got laid off. So I applied for a sales job at Big Rock. And my resume got sent to the wrong person. I showed up for an interview with Jody Hamill, who was the former assistant brewmaster. He moved to Vancouver to open up Big Rock Vancouver, and I think is no longer with Big Rock. But he looked at, like, I couldn't understand why he looked at me like who's this guy? I showed up to an interview for what I thought was a sales job, wearing a suit, talking about my sales credentials, and I looked down on his desk and it says Brewer is what they had actually. The resume went to the wrong person, but they had heard about me because I was connected in the industry. I mean, there's only like 15 breweries in Alberta at the time. People knew who I was. So I looked at the thing and I said, Jody, holy, I thought I was applying for a sales job here, and I am so interested to be a brewer. It feels like it'd be this cool thing. So I worked there. That didn't work out. It's a story of my life in the craft beer industry. Worked at Wild Rose and Last Best too. Same deal. I was never meant to work in a brewery. I was meant to run one. We're talking like 7 years ago when hazy IPAs weren't a thing, pastry stouts weren't a thing. I was ahead of the curve. I was trading beer with people in the States and trying all these wicked beers, and I needed to do our own thing. So one day I was at home folding laundry with my wife, and I said, how do you feel about contract brewing? Getting into the game. Let's just, very small amount of money. Some friends of friends were opening Cold Garden in Inglewood, which is probably the most popular tap room in Alberta. And they were like, yeah, we'll take you on as a contract brewer. Like, you just buy your own tank and we'll charge you rent. And you can brew whenever the system's not in use. And so we got started that way, and we started pushing the envelope right away. We launched in November 2016 with a hazy IPA that people had no idea what it was. They were just there was obviously the people who had been to the States and stuff, but and then we launched our first flagship beer, which was a double IPA, and Outcast has always been about what beer do I want to make, and I run all my decisions by Kristen, my wife and business partner. Without her, we wouldn't be here. Like, she just jumped in and she was like, okay, let's do this. This is gonna be our thing. And we contract brewed for 2.5 years and got some money behind us, and then built our taproom out, which I'm sitting here right now. And it's been great seeing her run this place now. I'm no longer the face of Outcast. Kristen is. I'm just the guy that makes beers and hides in the back at night. It's great. So that's our story.
What can people expect when they walk into your tap room?
A lot. Just constantly rotating flavorful beers. Nothing boring. I've always liked things that are very flavorful. Whether it's my food, whether it's the beer I drink, everything needs to be. I love things that are in your face, and that's what people can expect. Now, we're branching off a little bit. I've started brewing lagers and some stuff because ultimately we're business owners, and we have a patio that eventually we'll be able to use. We literally finished building it like the day they announced that they were shutting down patios. So, we're trying to branch off a little bit. Not that I'm not trying to hit the lowest common denominator or get the people in that wouldn't be here otherwise. But the reality is that not everybody that comes to Outcast is coming to Outcast on their own. They're coming with friends. They're coming for whatever reason. And that's why I always do seltzers, like gluten-free, like this fermented sugar with fruit. We try to have a cider on tap. We try to have some options for people that don't drink that. So branched off and started brewing pilsners, and the reception's been killer on them. Turns out I can make a good lager, and so it's they can expect that. They expect like a warm, comfortable, friendly place, great service, like personalized service. It's either me or Kristen in the tap room when we're here. We have one part-time employee, and that's it. And so they can expect to have that the certain we provide a service that just no other brewery can. You're never going to get the experience that we provide because it's us. And it's a cool experience. Generally we're still getting our name out there. Like we haven't been open. I mean, we haven't really been open since November, really, when you think about it. But everybody that comes in and has the experience that we give them comes back and just says, like, I can't believe that you like the brewery owner is the woman who served me behind the bar. Like, just it's a cool experience, and it's something that I really don't want to change. Like as we grow, obviously we'll have to look at employees throughout the summer and whatever, but Kristen will always be here. I'll always be in the tap room, so they can expect an experience they will never get anywhere else.
Deadly.
Is it though? Running ourselves into the ground, deadly. Just
Well, you'll get help as you go,
no, we
as you
will,
grow.
and it's coming. Oh yeah, and we do have a part-time guy. We had a part-time guy. We have had someone since we opened. It just that's what Kristen wants to do. She wants to be in here, and I'm in here at night, and it works really well. It's a cool bond that we have with our business, and it works.
I know I was talking with Jeff from Nokomis about a couple weeks ago, and I remember him saying, "Nah, it's just going to be me. It's going to be small, maybe
Yeah.
one or two other people." And he's, I think, got 6 people now, and it's great. And he's pushing out great beers.
I don't think we'll ever get to that point. Like the reality is, we're only a 5-barrel brewery with 6 tanks. Yeah, we're gonna upgrade and whatever, but I just can't see us getting over. I don't need someone in the back to help me. Our part-time guy is a jack of all trades. He worked at another brewery before here. He does delivery, he does tap room, helps me in like with tasks in the back. So I can't ever see us getting to that point. But you know what? Jeff's not wrong. I'm sure that in 6 months, if we keep growing the way we are, I'll just be like, well, remember when I told you that we wouldn't have 6 employees? We'll see. This is the last 6 months has been a massive launching point for us. Our growth is almost unmanageable right now. So
You said your flagship was a double IPA. I know in the Saskatchewan market, we ourselves were like, let's try a Belgian wit, and it was nice. It worked well for a while, but now things have flipped, and our Zilla has really taken off in a big way, and it's one of our most popular. And right out the
lentil,
gate, you just got lentil's huge. Lentil has become neck and neck with Zilla. Like Zilla caught up. The market shifted.
That's I'm going to be anecdotally saying this, but like I'm not surprised and I bet you're getting a lot of growth in rural areas too, with people that are shifting away from lager drinking and whatever. You talk to like Ribstone Creek, farming town, their tap room when they opened, their lager was their number one seller, and they just kept handing people samples of Great White no, their flagship IPA. I can see the can, but I can't think of the name. But they just kept handing samples to people, and eventually it caught up. Same thing in their tap room. It became like their lager. And a lot of times it just people need to get the beer in front of them. They need to just get away from this mindset of like, beer should taste like beer. It's a novel concept and it works everywhere. So
It's super funny because we just launched a beer that we call it's beer that tastes like beer.
I know you did. And I saw Mark and his social media posts, and I love that guy. I just can't.
I hope we make you laugh.
I wish I didn't give a fuck like he does. I wish everybody should have that mentality when it comes to their appearance. We'd be a lot happier as a society if we could just get away from caring what other people think and just be you.
I think he's always had a really strong vision, and part of my job is just helping him execute on that vision. And we're all kind of hard-headed,
Everybody in the brewing industry is, man.
So I guess all that said, I wanted to circle back to your flagship. Your first one was a double IPA.
Yep.
How the hell did you know that was going to be your flagship? Like that's a big ask for a new brewery.
Well, if you Google us, you can find an article that Hayden Dews, who's now one of the owners of Cabin Brewing here in Calgary, he had a blog called The Daily Beer. And we talked about that in depth in it. It's a good read to go back 5 years later because he interviewed us in the summer of 2016 before we opened. He asked me the same question. And I had no idea. I I knew that where our production was going to be 20 kegs at a time, that someone would buy the beer. Like it would, or they wouldn't. Like that was it was going to work or it wasn't. And that's why we contract brewed instead of opening our own place right away and built the brand that way. It didn't work out for us. One of the things that's really weird, we talk about like our flagship beer and whatever. We've had three of them, and all three of them have failed because, like, we're known for Forgetful Brewer, which was our third try at a year-round beer. But the reality with our brand is that people just want the newest thing I make. What's the new Outcast beer? What's he going to release? What are they doing? So we've shot ourselves in the foot. We just can't have year-round beers. It's constant rotating. So we bring some back from time to time. Like Forgetful Brewer gets brewed regularly, but it's not a year-round beer. We can't do it. That beer, it won gold at the Canadian Brewing Awards as the best double IPA in Canada in 2019 and silver in 2018, and I still can't sell it. Like it's the weirdest thing, man. But we learned from that, and now we have some regular beers like our breakfast stout. I brew year round, but I use different coffee every time. And if I didn't use different coffee every time, people wouldn't buy it. Like it's this crazy thing, and you can blame Untapped for that. This shake, like you got to have the new beers, got to try new. But it's grown our brewery, and it's done well for us. It's just a weird concept that, like, I can't do year-round beers. People won't buy them. Or they'll buy them once and then never circle back. So it's a weird thing.
Huh. We talk about that a lot. I think once you get bigger and you have a little bit more runway, you're going to discover what's working for you. And in our experience, all of our assumptions were eventually proved wrong, or we just saw the market shifting and we had to adapt as well. So I do feel that, oh man, we came out with so many beers in 2019 and 2020. We couldn't keep up with educating our customers, and our customers were confused and couldn't keep up. So this year, we've deliberately pulled back on the number of seasonals we're pushing, and we're revisiting and relaunching beer and giving that a lot of room to breathe and oxygen. We're kind of like blowing on the embers to try and start that fire.
Yeah.
But when it comes to how many iterations of Solo Crush can you have, like we could have had one per month, but now we're going to do maybe one every other month or one every quarter.
So to give you an idea, our taproom's been open since the end of October 2019.
Yeah.
I brewed 120 different beers at Outcast.
That's awesome. But that's also a lot of different beers.
We canned like 9 beers this week. Like, like the Slushy series, we've done 12 of them now in a month and a half. Like it just, the demand on these is ridiculous. I talk about growth. Like we're at a turning point. I might have to stop making beer that's not sour fruit beers. Like so what we do is we contract the base beer at Village, a large brewery down the road. And basically I brew 6 beers, keg them, drain the tanks, pump the base beer in, pump puree in, and then have our mobile canners come the next day. So we're like technically at 125% of capacity right now. And so what's the growth pattern on this? We've sold 450 cases of these in a month.
Right. Well, that is a market strategy, if that's your strategy.
But ultimately, it works really well in a shutdown because I don't have people coming in to sit on my patio, or our patio. I got to think mine, our patio. So it works well. But when we reopen, people would probably like to have an IPA or a stout or a lager or whatever, right? So it's a tough balance. It's a problem I'm happy to have, but the planning side of it's a hard one. And I wanted to circle back about Flagship beers for a second. A big reason it doesn't work for us is because we don't have a salesperson. I'm the salesperson. And if I wanted to get into Liquor Depot, like the Alcana chain, or Co-op, or Sobeys, or Safeway liquor stores, we could do it. But I don't want to work with them. We do some limited work with the Co-op chain here in limited stores that I trust that actually are, you would almost, if you went into their coolers, you'd never think it was a chain store. Like there's some ones that are run by some really talented beer enthusiasts and whatever. But ultimately, we only really sell to independent liquor stores, and they're the the driving force, and their customers only want new stuff, right? So that's the main reason it doesn't work for us.
I know Alberta is a completely different animal when it comes to craft beer.
Everything.
Yeah, when it comes to competitive craft beer, we sent like a test shipment to Alberta, and we said we don't know if this will work. We don't know if people will buy it twice. Just we assume they'll buy it once, and maybe they'll be like, okay, next, what's my next untapped check-in? So far, it feels pretty good. Like we're seeing reorders, and it's like, oh, okay.
But you're a different animal though. Like you guys, you have a lot of brand recognition already in Alberta. A lot of people travel to Saskatchewan. People know who Rebellion is. You're not, you know, 9 Mile Legacy. You're not a small little brewery that people don't recognize. You're a big one. So I'm not surprised. And Mark and I had talked about this too. Like I was when he said that they were bringing stock to Alberta. I'm not surprised that it's picked up the way it has. And this, like the enthusiasm from stores, like when I drop in and drop beer off, I look around, I see what's happening, what's selling, how are things going. Like I was at Collective today, which is probably the best liquor store in Calgary in terms of selection. Well, not best, that's not fair to say. We have a number of very high quality ones, and they would be at the top caliber of the liquor store in Calgary. And they said they can't keep your beer in stock. They're ordering over and over and over and over again. So,
Well, that feels good. Like we sent a shipment of pineapple sour, which is one of our most popular summer seasonal beers, and we haven't advertised it yet because we haven't had time to distribute it out across Saskatchewan. So we always wait because we know there's a lag. We don't want to tell people, "Hey, go get this beer," and then they go to the store and it's not there yet, because it
yeah.
takes us about a 3 week to 4 week cycle to hit every single location. And we're like, okay, we'll just pre get ready for Alberta, and they wiped out the stock before we even said. And I'm like, what's going on? Help me wrap my head around what's going on in Alberta. Why is this happening?
Well, and again, it's the recognition. People know who you are already. You're a new entrant to our market, but you're not a new entrant to the market at all. People have been bringing your beer back from Saskatchewan for years, and that it's no surprise that it worked out as well as it did. But yeah, I gotta say, like, I'm not surprised, and I'm glad that you guys came here. The problem we have in Alberta, we talk about it being a different animal, is that our open import system is great. We can get beer from around the world. People can bring things in. But the problem for the consumer, and a big reason I think that Alberta's lagged behind for a long time in craft beer, is it's a dumping market. People buy, like distributors buy stale beer from the States and sell it in Alberta. And we're just used to getting, for lack of a better word, shitty product. And to have fresh, good beer made by a producer, that's relatively local to us is something that we just don't get. I mean, even our BC stuff doesn't necessarily come in the freshest, and to get the quality there is a big reason for the success behind it, right? So people are excited to see new products that are, within date and whatever.
We deliberately planned our packaging and delivering runs to make sure it's the freshest when it hits Alberta. We don't want it to sit in a warehouse. We don't want it to. We'd rather blow out the stock than see it overstocked in something, cans going bad or having a birthday. We just can't afford to have that happen.
Cans having a birthday. That's a grim. Never heard that term before. That's amazing. Well, if you want to have a bunch of IPAs that have had their birthday already, come to Alberta. It's really disappointing too, because we get some cool shit here. Like I gotta say, Alberta gets great stuff. But when you go to the liquor store and you're like, oh my God, Sierra Nevada Torpedo. I love that beer. I haven't had it in years. And you go into, you're like, oh, it was canned 19 months ago. Like, I mean, part of it's this problem with the stores and stuff, but it's just frustrating, right? Like to have that in our market. And I think, like I said, I think it's really held the province back. I, for the longest time, was like, oh, I love double IPAs. And this is like when I started getting into craft beer 10 years ago. I was like, I love double IPAs. They're so malty and bitter and like whatever. Turns out I like barley wine and not, I mean, I love double IPAs too, but yeah. So when the average consumer has been, introduced to these things that way, it puts a damper on a lot of things. So
Well, I guess that leads to my next question. What styles are you digging right now?
Gin.
Yeah.
I'm not. I sound like the worst brewery owner in the world. I'm not really drinking right now. I've been off booze for like 2.5 months and just trying to lose weight, get back in shape. Like I'm not off it completely. I've been obviously taste testing all of our beers and like the normal process or whatever. But um, yeah, and before that, I've like really good. Like the last styles I was really digging, West Coast IPAs. There's something about that piney, resiny, citrusy character of a really good West Coast IPA, and no one's making them. Like, it's a dead style in Alberta, which is unfortunate. It's like I said, they're refreshing. They hit you like you feel like you're drinking an IPA. I mean, hazy IPAs are great and whatever, but they're so soft and delicate and gentle and not to knock the style because make them, I love them too, but there's something about bitter beer, I guess, that I've been on, and lagers. Just a good pilsner is because they're just so hard to make. Getting that flavor like I want my beer to taste like beer. Like it's surprisingly difficult to make a beer taste like beer. It's easy to double dry hop an IPA. It's not easy to make a clean, crisp lager.
Yeah, you got to have your shit together.
Yeah, 100%. So I've been digging those. And gin. I love gin.
Okay, then let's say, what are Outcast's strengths? What beer are you most proud of? I mean, you're rotating, you're doing this very fast, snappy, quick turnover.
Yeah. It's tough. I think like Forgetful Brewer obviously is always going to have a place in my heart. It's an award-winning double IPA. Citra, Mosaic, Simcoe, it's not Simcoe. God, I don't even know my own beer. Citra and Mosaic, and like people come back for it over and over and over again. I say it doesn't sell well. Like it's tough for us to market as like if I wanted to have it always fresh and stuff, it would be tough to market. But like it's got its fans. It's a great beer. I'm really proud of that one. We just released a beer last week called the Feisty Brewer. That's named after my wife. It's a blueberry cobbler's. Blueberry cobbler. Like these non-traditional ingredients we're putting in beer now is ridiculous. But it's blueberry puree, blueberry juice concentrate, cinnamon, and brown sugar, and it tastes like you're eating pie. It's ridiculous. It is. It's not like, oh, it vaguely resembles pie. It's like it tastes like pie filling. It's the coolest thing. I'm so proud of that beer because it's Kristen's. Like I have Forgetful Brewer. My likeness is on the label. Her likeness is on this one, and she's amped on it. As someone who's not really a beer drinker, I'm really proud of that one. It's been a long time coming to have something that she can drink that's hers.
Did you put lactose in it?
No,
Okay, I'm in.
what's that?
I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, are you lactose intolerant?
I can't have lactose.
Yeah. It's a cool one. I've done lactose in oddly enough, I do lactose in all my hazy IPAs now. Um, I find that little bit of sweetness kind of balances off the bitterness. It kind of kills hop burn, and that's a problem I've always had with my IPAs is that I've never been able to get. I've always had a touch of hop burn the first week my IPAs are on draft. So I found that using lactose to up the final gravity a little bit has really helped that problem. And then I use lactose in our stouts, but not in our sours yet. Maybe someday.
I know when it comes to Zilla or specifically our hazy, when you get it that very first week, that second week, you're gonna get heartburn. You're gonna get that really high acid character. I know we say fresh is best, always drink fresh, 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 but really it's like it needs 2 weeks to kind of calm down.
I think
And
I think that's good practice for any IPA, to be completely honest with you. And I find myself going and getting the newest cabin one, the newest annex one, the newest establishment one, and always being disappointed on day one. And it's like, you should learn better. I know that I'm gonna like this beer better next week, but I buy one can and I'm disappointed every time. So, and that's not the fault of the brewer. That's just the style. These beers need time to sit. And I found that lactose, and not a big addition of lactose. I'm using like 10 pounds in 700 liters of beer. It's like a Home Depot bucket worth. It's just enough to up the FG, 1 point. Instead of ending at 1.008, ends at 1.009 or whatever, and that it seems like just that little bit is enough to kill that problem.
The one thing I wanted to bug you about was slushy beers. Like, no one here in Saskatchewan. Well, one brewery is doing them, but I haven't got the chance because of pandemic to go get
Who's
it.
that?
It's Homebound, I believe. They're doing a
Okay.
slushy beer, Slurpee
Are they
beer.
doing like legit ones, like fruit puree and like canning them the day that they put the fruit in them? And
I haven't had the chance to taste it yet. I
I'm
heard
curious.
it's coming or it's new.
Yeah, yeah, I'm curious because like we've had 2 or 3 breweries in Alberta make slushy style beers, but they're fermenting the fruit out and they're not using nearly the fruit we are. Like where do ours are like? I mean, I know your viewer listeners aren't going to see it, but like this beer, it's got like I can see the mango in it, like and like the head is just froth of fruit. We do a pound a liter of puree in these beers plus juice concentrate. And like I don't know if you guys have used like the juice concentrate from Pacific Coast Fruit. It's like 65 bricks juice. So the equivalency is that like a 20-liter pail is the same as 400 pounds of fruit. So we're effectively putting in 5 heck of base beer. I'm adding 500 pounds of puree and about the equivalency of 400 more pounds of juice. So we're like just under 2 pounds a liter of fruit. Yeah,
What can people expect when they have their first slushy? Assume my audience hasn't yet had a chance to taste them.
sure. Well, I want to read you the review. We launched the cherry cheesecake one today. Tart cherries and cream cheese, another traditional brewing ingredient. The first review on Untapped was bland, 2 stars. So that's what you can expect with our slushy beers. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, they're in your face fruity. Like we call them slushies. Put them in the freezer. Treat like for 2 hours, rolling them around. Treat them and pull them out and eat them like a slushy. They're the coolest. Like they're a really cool style, and consequently they're expensive to make and expensive to sell and whatever. But just you're like when I tell you that this beer is mango raspberry, it's mango and raspberry. I had nothing else. Like, I need to just start skipping the beer step and just canning puree because we're almost at that point. But no, they're cool. It's an interesting experience, and the response on them is overwhelmingly awesome. Like people are really floored at how good these beers are. So
So, in your own words, tell me about how the Rebellion Outcast collab came to be, because I've heard Mark's side of the story, but I haven't heard yours.
yeah, I texted Mark and I was like, we should make a beer together, and he said that's a great idea.
I thought there was more to it.
This is something we've talked about for quite a while. Like I've only met Mark a couple times in person, talked to him on the phone, texted, a lot of social media interaction for years, like years. He's been having our beers since we launched. I know he's a huge fan of our beer. I've got, mutual respect for Rebellion's beers. And it just over time evolved from we should do something to, the last iteration of the idea was, hey, let's do a recipe swap. I'll brew your flagship, you brew ours. And other half in the United States has done this with tons of their brewery friends like Monkish and everybody. They call it Freaky Friday. So other half gives the flagship IPA recipes to their friends. They get recipes from them and they release the beers at each other's breweries. And due to some distribution differences in the States, they're able to sell each other's beers at their own like at opposite breweries and whatever. I was like, dude, this would be a really cool idea. Like, like people in Saskatchewan will get to try our beer. We've got a lot of fans in Saskatchewan that either trade for our beer or have buy it when they're here or whatnot. And we just don't have the ability to supply the Saskatchewan market. So it seemed like a cool way for us to do that. And now, especially with you in Alberta or Rebellion being available in Alberta, it seemed like a logical thing. Like, hey, this will be really cool. And it'll get some Outcast fans that haven't heard of Rebellion before to have your beer, and then there'll be probably way more people drinking Rebellion that'll be like, hey, I've never heard of Outcast before. So it's a little bit more beneficial for us, but it's a really cool, just friendly concept with the pandemic. All I'm doing right now is collaborations. Our non-slushy beers, every single one's collaboration right now. I've got a lager that we're canning next week. It's collaboration with Dark Sky Brewing from Flagship, Arizona. I've got a Imperial Pastry Stout, which is collaboration with Reverence Barrel Works out of Ontario. I'm brewing a Black Rye IPA collaboration with Barncat tomorrow. I'm doing a hazy triple IPA collaboration with Third Moon next week. Like we're really just, it's over and over and over and over and over. And it's like narcissistically, it's a really cool concept because I'm like, hey, Rebellion wants to work with me. You know, Barncat wants to do a collaboration with Outcast. Like, there's some cool things like this. And like Kristen, my business partner, same thing. She's like, every brewery that wants to work with you, do it. Just do it. It's the spirit of collaboration in a pandemic where a lot of people have lost a lot of things, loved ones, jobs, livelihoods, everything. Showing the spirit of collaboration, which you touched on at the beginning, it's been a cool thing. So we just decided that reach out to your brewery friends, reach out to people. Like, I have existing relationships with a lot of people, like Reverence Barrel Works, Matt, their owner, and I were beer trading partners, and we both opened breweries later. So we've known each other for 5 or 6 years. With Rebellion, same thing. I have an existing personal relationship with Mark and mutual admiration for our products, so why don't we do something? Dark Sky Brewing in Arizona seems like a really weird one. Why are you brewing a Pilsner collaboration with a brewery in Arizona? Well, Ryan Sandlin, their owner, and I are both in a Facebook group called Barley Wine is Life. And it's all about dick swinging and showing all your expensive barley wine that you're chugging and things and just posting about the style and how it's, the greatest style ever made. So jokingly, I was like, we're going to get our barrel program up and running. We should do a barley wine together. You make killer ones. He's like, no, it's coming into summer. Let's do a lager. And I was like, actually, that's a great idea. So we brewed one. It's called Birds Aren't Real. And the label is basically a meme talking about how pigeons are government surveillance drones. So it's, it's just fun in the spirit of things. They're a 5-barrel brewery. There's literally like 1,100 liters of it got made total between our breweries, but it's just a fun concept. And the one with Matt at Reverence is called ISO FT, which is what Beer Advocates Trade Forum is, and in search of : for trade. So the beer is called ISO FT because we met each other beer trading, and it just seemed like a cool concept for that, right? So we're just trying to show that, like you talk about, like that the beer industry is so collaborative, and show the spirit of that. Just raise people's spirits and just show people that we're not competitors. We are competitors, but you know what I mean.
It's a different kind of culture. And like, I didn't make that culture. I was adopted into that culture.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see. It's fun to see that, we're not all trying to slit each other's throats. We know each other on a first name basis. We're buds.
Yeah.
And that still surprises our customers. They're like, I can't believe you guys get along.
It's interesting too, because like you talk about like the collaborative nature of the industry and like first name basis. Like when I went to go drop beer off at Collective today, like a customer was like, "Oh, hey Patrick," and I'm like, "I don't know who you are, but you know who I am because of the brewery." Like that's a pretty cool thing. Kristen's getting recognized when we go out and get groceries. Like there's a lot of there's something special about the beer industry. I think that really no other industries are like this one. Everybody's, in other industries like, oh yeah, like we're friends with them. And it's like, yeah, but you're also trying to actively steal their business. And it's, I can't think of an industry where, like in our situation, that like we gave each other recipes. Like these beers are beers that generate a lot of money for us. And we're just like, hey, you make it. Here you go.
Yeah.
It's a whole other animal that I think is the coolest thing. Just absolutely the coolest thing in the world.
I know early days of Rebellion, a lot of homebrewers were asking us, hitting us up for recipes, and Mark's like, "Here's the recipe. Good luck. You're not going to be able to do it. You need different equipment."
Of course, and that's
excited.
The thing too. Well, like, and even things it boils down to, like, I can give you the exact water chemistry and I can give you everything, and your Forgetful Brewer will not taste the same as mine. I'm sure it'll be a very, very, very similar beer, but there'll be something discernibly different. And the same as Zilla. My Zilla is not going to be your Zilla. It's going to be a very close approximation, and it's going to be recognizably Zilla. Just like I'm sure people will be like, yep, that smells like Forgetful Brewer, but there's a je ne sais quoi, as they say in France and Quebec and other places around the world. It's a common phrase that everybody uses. Anyway, uh, the, there's something that, you know, there'll be a little bit of a difference. So that's why I never hide. I don't think you need to hide your beer recipe. Like now, are we going to tell people how we make our slushies and keep them the way they're? No, that I need that to remain with me for now. Um, Anybody with some common sense could probably figure out what we do, but like I people want a recipe, I have no problem giving it to them, and they're really surprised. Like you said, homebrewers, same thing. I want a brew forgetful brewer. Like what kind of hops do you use? I'm like, well, do you want the recipe? Like I won't give them everything, but I'll give them the malt profile and the hops used and some most of the information. Why not?
Yeah. I know Regina has a very specific water quality that comes at a Buffalo Pound. It has a very particular hard character to it.
Yeah.
And we've always talked about that and how it influences certain types of beer, specifically IPAs, and it's ideal. But when you're trying to do something lighter, like a lager or a pilsner, those lighter ales, the water needs to be treated. So it's interesting to see you kind of grappling with the same thing separately in your neck of the woods.
Well, I think our water, I mean, not to like boast, but like our water chemistry in Calgary is awesome. Like for stouts, IPAs, lagers, everything. We just like the water's really, it's so versatile, and it's the quality and the minerality of the water here in Calgary is great. Like I don't really treat my water at all in any of my beers. The lager I did, and I use like acid, like phosphoric acid and stuff to bring the pH down a little bit. But like our IPAs, our stouts, I don't touch the water at all. It goes through our hot water, our carbon filter, and it's good to go.
I guess we should be very explicit. Rebellion is going to be brewing Forgetful Brewer.
Right.
You're going to be brewing Zilla,
I am.
aren't you?
Of course I am. Yes, we are. Yeah. So we're recipe swapping our flagship beers, is what we're doing.
I thought they'd maybe given me the wrong information for a second. I was like, he's doing Zilla?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah. No, that's like they say with the water chemistry here in Calgary. Is we're lucky. That mountain water is high mineral content and works really well for most beer styles. That's why you get like a lot of I think that there's like a softness in our beers that really is hard to mimic. Not ours, but like saying in general, Calgary's beers. And Edmonton has much different water. Like Edmonton struggles with problems with their water supply, with like brewing quality water. We're lucky here that like the water off the Glenmore Reservoir, it's glacier runoff down the Bow River into the reservoir, and it's about as good as it gets.
Right. I remember reading about that in Europe, how styles evolved in Europe based on the variables they couldn't control, which was the groundwater, the terroir, the supplies they could get at the time, and that's a lot of how traditional styles emerged. And it's interesting to sit down with you and hear you kind of reflect on those things in a modern context. It's really cool.
Yep. Yeah, it is, and it's neat. I mean, I think I'm not as I'm never gonna pretend that I'm a chemist or I'm really good with water chemistry. It's the one thing that I really need to educate myself on. I just know that it works, and that sounds like I'm haphazardly throwing ingredients into water. I have experience with everything here, and I've seen the lab reports on water, and I know how our water is. Um, Edmonton has struggles with their runoff because like they're glacier fed too, but there's something about I don't know if it's the water facility in Edmonton or the way the water gets to Edmonton through the tribute, like all the rivers and stuff. But they when they have their thaw every year, when the rivers thaw, their water is like almost unusable.
Really?
Yeah, Odd Company in Edmonton has struggled with that as a small brewery. They're smaller than we are. They've talked about it that when the spring thaw happens, there's a noticeable change in the quality of their water and their beer from it.
Interesting.
Or not the quality of their beer, but the amount of work they have to do to make their water usable is they can go basically from not having to do anything to chlorine, get the chlorine, get the, run it through all your filters, boil it first, distill it, all those, not distill it, but like they have to a lot of legwork to get their water to be usable. So, which kind of makes it, we wonder like why a place like Labatt would put a massive brewery in Edmonton when they have issues with water like that, when Calgary's got such better water. But I mean, they're also running it through I'm sure they're using RO and all that kind of stuff.
We have RO. We have filters. We're not screwing around.
I have a filter. It costs $300. We do basic carbon filtering, but it works. Again, look, because of the quality of our supply.
That's deadly, man. I have half my family out in Alberta, and I know that the next time I go to Calgary, your place is going to be like on my list. I'm going to check that box. Going to come say hi and have a bunch of your beers. I'm super jacked that we're getting to work with you and do a collab.
I am too. We both are. Chris and I both are. It's like I said, a lot of it is just like the spirit of collaboration. But at the same time, to be able to work with a brewery like Rebellion, established as you are, you're a regional brewery. Like you're not. It's not the same as me working with a brewery down the street. Like, okay, those collaborations are cool and they'll sell out very fast and it's a lot of fun. But like people know that we're friends with Cabin. They know that we're good buddies with Annex. We've worked with them before. And so to be able to bring in an outside brewery is really, it's cool. People really take notice of that. And then from the business side of it, for us, being able to use Rebellion's brand name and likeness with our product as a way to expand the people that have tried our beer. It's huge for us. And that was one of the big reasons I was so jacked that Mark was on board right away, was just being able to harness your brand, and then also getting our beer into Saskatchewan, even though it's not our beer, but it's not. It's a cool concept. I'm really looking forward to brewing this next week.
I think it's going to be like one of those tourism draws where people from Calgary are going to have had it and say, well, next time we're in Saskatchewan, we'll hit the tap room. And people in Saskatchewan, of many of whom will be going to Calgary simply for flights and family and all that stuff, they're going to be like, well, we got to check out Outcast.
Yeah, and that's the hope for me, or for us, is that we can, when things open up this summer and people are able to travel again, that people from Saskatchewan will be like, hey, I'd never heard of them before. And then again, consequently, that people will come from Calgary and they'll be like, oh, I've never been to Regina before. What brewery should I go to? Well, probably Rebellion.
Yeah.
It'll be front of mind for people. So it's a cool way for us to get our brands out there. And I also, no one will ever deny that it's a little bit more beneficial for us as a smaller competitor, as a smaller brewer, but still fun. And these are things that we love doing. The spirit of collaboration, just working with people. And in normal times, I'd be going to Regina and brewing it with you, and we'd have Mark or one of your brewers come to us. Like, I would do that, but right now we have to do it virtually, and that's cool too.
We'd be couch surfing back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I'm too cheap for an Airbnb. Figure out how do I? Hey Alexa, how long does it take to drive to Regina?
Yeah.
No, it's so. When things open up, maybe this time next year we'll do it again and we'll swap in different breweries. You guys can come here, we'll go there.
That's
and do
awesome.
Something fun. Yeah.
Well, Patrick, man, thanks for your time today.
No, absolutely. It's been great. It was a distraction from trying to fix this malt mill that I'm just never going to get fixed. I want to be honest with you, and people are going to laugh at me. So I broke the malt mill on our first brew 18 months ago. And I've been using a homebrew one since because I'm just too stupid to get this thing fixed. It's just a belt. Just needed to go down the street and buy a $12 belt. And I finally did it this week. And I'm finally getting this malt mill going. So instead of taking an hour and a half to grind 250 pounds of grain or 400 pounds of grain, it's going to take 3 minutes. The concept is novel. Apparently, when your equipment works the way it's supposed to, things work really well. So
that's awesome. Oh, you got to work smarter, not harder.
Well, that's why I have a part-time guy to do the grinding for me. Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. And again, we're beyond stoked to be doing this project. The label art, which people will see when the beers come out, is really cool. It's on point for both of us. Like it's all of it's come together better than I thought it would, and it's cool. I hope more people do this too. I hope that people just think about what we've gone through for the last 14 months and the struggles and how we've had to hold each other up. And you talk about, breweries in Saskatchewan sharing packaging ingredients. If we didn't have Village to contract brew our sour beer for us, I don't know where we'd be. Like I can't. This is. I don't want to say. I want to sound like doom and gloom, but it's not saved us, but it's definitely given us a leg up that the pandemic took away. And so getting these beers out here and getting back into the market and canning and things like this is, it's we're growing, and we have other breweries and other businesses to thank for that. And I can't imagine a business where I'm just go to a brewery and say, look, I need you to make beer for me. I can't, I need a cash infusion. I need to sell all this beer. Can you contract brew a beer for me? Sure. Would you like payment terms? Yeah. Like just things that to me, I don't know. It's a fucking special industry that we're in. And the consumers need to know that you're supporting family-run businesses. You're supporting an industry where people work together, where, you know what, you might buy an Outcast 4-pack this week. You might go and buy a Cabin one next week. You might get a case of beer from Rebellion. But you're at the bottom line, your money is coming back into the community. It's staying with families. Like people need to know that when they buy our beer, like they're feeding our children. They're not, it's not a, oh, it's a brewery, whatever. It's not some evil corporate overlords. Like it's two of us. It's Kristen and I. It's us doing all the work. And when people support us financially by buying our products, they're supporting 5 people, not 2. They're supporting Kristen and me and Alex and Sawyer and Haley. I'm gonna like start crying. That's the coolest thing. People need to know that. And when they support Rebellion, they're not just supporting big beer. When they your money goes back into the community. Every dollar spent on craft beer gets recycled and reused and stays local.
My Untapped account profile literally says, "Thank you for drinking Rebellion beer. You're putting my kids through college."
Yeah, pretty much, man. Like seriously, it's you say that, but it's not wrong. Like in the same sense that like we need to, as a society, get away from Amazon, get away from Walmart, go to your local bookstore, go to your local grocery store. Like I understand the convenience of things, and I'm guilty as hell. Hey, Sawyer needs a pair of shoes. I'll go on Amazon. Like I'm guilty of it too, but we need to, as a society, shift back to supporting small business. I read a statistic once, and I got to end on this because I got some work to do, that for every job that, say, Molson or Labatt or InBev has in Canada, on a per liter basis, the craft brewing industry, was it 8 people are employed on the same per liter basis of production? Like it's incredible. I mean, you got to think every brewery needs a salesperson. Everyone needs a delivery driver. Everyone needs taproom staff, right? But though they don't, they can make 50 million liters a year of beer with 20 people. And so, we need to get away from that concept. Let's get back to supporting local. I hope that's one thing that we pull out of the pandemic, is that people gravitate back towards mom and pop shops, small breweries, small bookstores, small grocery stores, independent convenience stores, wherever you need to spend money, if it makes sense. And I understand there's some financial challenges in terms of you're going to pay a bit more, but if it makes sense, like do it. You're not just supporting the dude behind the counter. Like there's a family, there's employees, and I get that grocery stores and chains support people and families as well. But like again, your dollar that goes to Rebellion Brewing or Outcast goes a lot further than that dollar you give to InBev.
Well, thanks for your time, Patrick.
No worries. Have a good one, man.
Rebels, thanks for listening today. If you have any questions or comments about this episode, be sure to join us on our brand new Facebook group page, the Rebellion Brewing Podcast. I'm going to include links to all things Outcast so you can find them on social media that you prefer. I'm also proud to let you know that we're members of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. It's a one-stop shop for tons of locally produced shows from across our province. You can find them at saskpodcastnetwork.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Untappd so you don't miss out on the latest in Sask craft beer news. Thank you for joining Rebellion.